we do it every year. Yeah. It's so good to see you all. I couldn't imagine how many people would be able to come on a Memorial Day Friday. Hi, Susan.
Hi, everybody. It is great to see your faces. Happy Friday of Memorial Day weekend. I assume everyone has gone around, said your name. No? Well, let's do that. Also, Abby just joined us, so that's great. And Maggie joined us. Great. Oh, this is fabulous. So we're doing it perfectly timed so that we don't take the whole hour of introductions or at least half of it. We'll get right to business. But if you would, let's just introduce ourselves. And if you have something specific that you would like the group to talk about today, we do want to talk about, and I'm so thrilled that Shannon and Maggie are here so that they can also share with us about the bill that just passed and what that means for higher education and training parenting educators. And then I had also sent out, and I'll post it as a file in case you didn't see it. Susan Shorey had shared a really nice document at Menafee that also talks about the 2 MDE positions. So we want to talk about that. But if there's anything else that you would like to talk about today, please let us know. I'll write it in the chat and then we can come back to it. I see Abby is here, and just letting you know that I do read Facebook sometimes when I'm on it. Abby had brought up as a possible topic for us too about how maybe statewide or by programs, the 50th anniversary of ECFE is going to be celebrated. So we can come back to that as well. So I'll just kick us off. I'm Susan Walker, formerly from the University of Minnesota, and now from the world. So, and I'll pass it over to Nikki.
Hi, I'm Nikki Murphy, and I am parent and family education in Robbinsdale, and I love the things that are on the books for today. So the new legislation and the 50th, and I will pass it to Carissa.
I am, excuse me, Carissa Waite, parent ed in Mounds View. Yeah, same, excited to hear and chat about both of those. I will pass it to Nancy. I guess we'll let you go again.
I'm Nancy Trahey, and I'm here from the Northwoods of Wisconsin because we were going to be talking about those things, and I'm excited. We're also going to touch base on the 50th. Yeah, and I'll pass it to Sarah Fritsch.
Hi, I'm at the cabin too, Nancy. So Sarah Fritsch, Big Lake Early Childhood Coordinator. I'm excited for the day. Thanks, everybody. Ellen.
Hey, everybody. I'm traveling home from work last day for me, and I'm also excited. So pass it on to, I don't know who has not gone yet. Shannon, I heard you're here. I can't see you, but I'm going to pass on to Shannon.
Thanks, Ellen. Yep, I'm here. I'm Shannon, parent and family ed at the University of Minnesota. I will say that I have to leave at 12:30, but I'm very excited to talk a little bit about what the big plans are for parent and family ed and getting our parent eds prepared. And I'll pass it to Maggie.
Hello, nice to see everyone. I'm Maggie Beaupre-Young, and I work with Shannon at the U of M as well. And I'll pass it to Greta. Have you gone? Okay. Oh, thanks. Sorry about that. I'm Greta Nelson. I'm from Cambridge Isani Schools, and I'm excited about what we're already ready to talk about. So I'm going to pass it to Yuji.
Thank you, Greta. My name is Yuji. Actually, I'm from Minnesota. Now I'm living in Montana and working for New York nonprofit. So I'm very excited to hear this news from Susan. Just so excited. And I look forward to discuss with the whole group. And I'm passing to Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer. I work in the Minnetonka district, and I'm looking forward to heading to the cabin this evening, but working day today. And yeah, want to find out what all the need to know from what passed in the legislature. Let's see, who's not gone? Raise your hand if you've not gone. Abby, I'll hand it to Abby.
Hi, everybody. I'm Abby. I teach parent and family ed in the Wilmer district. And I'm jealous of everybody that's at their cabin or going to their cabin. But it's gonna be a great weekend. So, and I'm excited to hear about all of this too. And I think, did everyone go?
Katie,
Yeah,
Katie-
Katie is here.
Oh, yeah, her screen.
And
isn't working, right?
she's standing in a closet.
Can you
And
guys hear
the
me?
light is
Yeah,
off.
we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Katie.
I don't know why my screen is dark. I've been having some issues signing on to Zoom, so I don't know if it's, and last week I think there were 2 of me, so this week you get none of me, I guess. I don't know what's happening, but good afternoon. Happy to be here with all of you ladies. Yeah, I just kind of plunked in the chat that unfortunately the ECFE and preschool teachers here in Jordan are still not on the master contract. So I was encouraged to read some of the verbiage in Waltz's bill, and one of our teachers is going to take it to our union rep, and hopefully we will, because we've been fighting for this for years, and it's just, we're losing really good teachers, and it's been hard. So I'm hoping this is, you know, a good step forward for us. So, yeah.
Great, thank you, Katie. We'll just imagine what you look like, you know, so, you know, you're 22 years old and.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
Well, let's focus first, since Shannon and Maggie are here, on the aspect of the bill that will support the preparation of parent and family educators. So I will turn it over to the 2 of you.
Thanks, Susan. And I'm gonna, I'll start it off, but Maggie also has been instrumental, all of you, really. I would have to just say thank you to all of you in the field who have been pushing for this, and we've done some amazing advocacy. What I will say is that there is a ton of money available now for preparing teachers in a range of different ways. And I'm calling it all the money because there seems to be so much money available. The trick for getting this money, because there are so many different pots kind of all over the place, they've really expanded Grow Your Own, which is money that flows through your district that prepares then a parent educator from your district. They have a little bit of money for helping teachers move from a tier 2 to a tier 3. They have a small little pot of money that is focused specifically on early childhood family ed or parent education. That's going to flow through higher ed. So our biggest challenge right now is figuring out how to get all of the money into the hands of the students who need to be parent eds. And that's going to be a bit of work in trying to figure out, do we go through the district? How do we get the money from? So we have to, there's some work on our end at the U that we need to do to apply for some grants that will then provide scholarships. And then there's some work that districts will need to do as well. So there's a lot that's going on. And then we of course need to figure out, if our program doubles in size, how are we going to make sure that we are preparing parent educators adequately with 3 staff. So we got some challenges ahead, but we're so excited. Maggie, what do you want to add?
I guess the only thing is to add, so really all y'all need to remember, and people that are watching the recording, is that, or to know, is if you have someone who's interested in getting their license, especially for rural areas or increasing your diversity in your staff, but everybody, there's no like contingencies around these grants, but to just reach out to us, and you can do that through the famed@umn.edu. I'll put that in the chat as well. And we're like Shannon said, we're coming up with ways to develop communication with y'all. We'll probably post it to the Facebook Friends of Family Ed group, because that's that's where everyone gets their information. And then also we have a coordinators list. So we'll just try and, I think we're going to start with a survey to just, get a sense of which districts need the most support, how districts could maybe collaborate and access grants as like a partnership. If you have like 2 people in one district and 2 people in another district, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to collaborate and partner across districts. But yeah, just look out for information from us. But if you ever have any questions, just email FAMED and connect your people who want to get their license to us so that we have it on our radar that you're a district that's interested. The other thing I wanted to mention was there's also funding for loan repayment. So it is I believe we're still like reading through everything, but I believe it's only for districts that are identified as a teacher shortage area. So, but again, if you know someone or you think that's you and you'd like more information about it, I can link you to the website to see if you would be eligible. It's worth an ask because they put more money into that fund as well. So it's not just for new teachers. It could be for teachers that already have their license too. I think that's it.
Yeah. So questions? Susan.
I do. It's interesting. Thank you. This is so encouraging, and in a way, needing more staff is a good problem to have, although it's a problem we've always had, only now there will be an influx, and fingers crossed that in particular, this means more parenting educators of color and also more parenting educators in districts that either don't have any at all or are in more minimally populated areas and threatened with losing their ECFE program, altogether. So will this, so I guess one question I have is, because ECFE or parent and family educators are certainly not the only licensure area that are included in it, would this be something that, say, when you say some of the money will trickle down through higher ed, that the University of Minnesota or CEHD would apply for a whole bunch of funds for teacher licensing, and then some of that would go to parent and family ed?
That's an excellent question, and is something that has been in the forefront of my mind too. My goal is to do a specific grant through FSOS, through the Parent and Family Ed program, so that we get the money directly to the Parent and Family Ed program.
Okay, so you can do that.
Yeah, that is our understanding. We're reaching out to double check with MOHE, which is the Minnesota Organization of Higher Ed, where the funds will kind of be held. And there will be some competition for those funds, absolutely, through a number of different places, but we are trying to get a jump on that and start putting in that grant application and get that organized so that we, the minute the RFP comes out, we can get the money.
Yeah.
And then we will be able to hold that and be able to give that out, which is really important, that we get to be in control of it.
Yeah.
Because we all know everybody else will take it if we're not, right?
Exactly. And that would be part of my own concern if the money is bundled for the whole college, and then somebody other than you make that determination of how that money is distributed. Yeah.
Completely agree with you. And so we've got some work to do and some negotiation that we need to do within the college, but it is my understanding that we are going to be able to apply for funds and get those specifically for parent and family ed.
Right. Okay. And then the other flow of funds, sort of the grow your own, is the university, is this part of your intention with the survey? I just think about, So you can have some districts that are really savvy on grant writing and collaboration, and they have a really spiffy budget department that can support the whole thing for fund distribution once the money comes in and that sort of thing. And then others are very needy, but I can't even see Shannon now. But they, oh, there you are. But they need a lot of assistance. So I guess it's more, what are your thoughts about sort of spreading the wealth or supporting districts that would be interested, but because especially if it has to go through them?
So a couple things, and Shannon, feel free to add. With the Grow Your Own, so one pot of money is it's called the Early Childhood Teacher Shortage Bill, and it's early childhood and parent and family ed. I know Greta had a question if early childhood is included, and yes, originally it just said early childhood, and we wanted to make sure we weren't carved out of that money, so we got and family education into that bill. But yes, it is early childhood as well, which is why Shannon was just explaining that we're hoping to apply for a grant that's specifically for our program. So we know some of the money will definitely go to us. But the other pot is Grow Your Own early childhood and family education. But there's a traditional Grow Your Own program, and thank goodness for that, because really they already have a process in place of how people apply for the money. So the teacher shortage bill will be basically through us, through our program. The Grow Your Own, we're hoping to partner with districts so that they can apply for the grant. So we would partner with you, the U of M, with a district or a collective of districts. And it's not like, because there's already a Grow Your Own traditional program for K through 12, they already have a pretty streamlined process for how you don't have to be super duper savvy. But I also wanted to mention that in the Grow Your Own bill, it says that, I think it's like a majority, I don't know what the wording is, a majority or a substantial amount has to go towards rural districts and to support diversity in school programs. So that, who knows what that means, but it's there. So I think there'll be a priority for rural districts to apply to this.
Excellent. I want to pause just for a second. I see that we have somebody new who has joined us. Jody, welcome to our Perfect Connections meeting. We see you on our screen. We can't see you. Would you like to, so that's all us. We won't go through introductions again, but you are in excellent supportive hands. Jody, would you like to introduce yourself to the group? And you can do that through text if you would feel more comfortable doing that too. Okay, that's fine. Would you like to share what district you're from, if you're from a district? Could be tough for you to type if you're on your phone or something. Okay. Oh, there she is. With Wilmer. Oh, terrific. Thank you. Thank you very much. And again, welcome to our discussion. We were just talking about the omnibus bill that just passed, and there's a lot of money in there, and specifically there's money for parent and family education preparation. And we were just talking about that. Shannon and Maggie from the University of Minnesota were sharing the different ways that the funds will be made available and that kind of thing. So that's fabulous. Are there any additional points about that, questions, while we have Shannon and Maggie on?
Before I do that, I want to address a couple things in the chat. That one, yes, early childhood teachers are also eligible for funding, and two, so is St. Cloud State University. So they absolutely can, if you want to go to the St. Cloud State University program, and you're in a grow your own district, you can partner with them to go with St. Cloud, St. Cloud State. I highly encourage that too. We are not in competition with St. Cloud State. We work together. And also, as far as the teacher shortage, the grant funds that flow through the university, that would be on St. Cloud State to apply to and get that grant. So that'll be in their control, but the grow your own is within your district or your self-control.
Thanks for clarifying that, Shannon. That was my question. So we're very close to, we are a rural district, very close to St. Cloud. But if somebody wanted to access the teacher shortage grants, that they would go through you guys then at this point, because SESU hasn't applied for that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yuji.
Hey, Shauna, I do have a question. Is this a fund only for early childhood, family education, or including school age? I know some districts, they have, programs for elementary schools and something like that.
It's for anybody who wants to get their parent ed license, but also in Minnesota, it's for any teacher. This is all about teacher shortage. So really anybody who wants to get their license, whether it be parent ed or early childhood, there are pots of funds. There are also lots of funds and pots of money for anybody else who wants to be a teacher in the K-12 system too. So it's a huge amount of money for addressing the teacher shortage overall.
Wow, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this could be used, Shannon, for someone like I have an amazing EA right now, right? That does not have any higher education at all. I mean, is that a doable thing to even start thinking about that for her? Because when I talk to her, she's like, no, I don't even have any higher ed. And I'm like, I think we can do this. Yes.
Yes. Does she want to be an early childhood teacher or a parent ed?
She's been in my classes like forever. And now I have her as an EA. So I'm really trying to get her she's on the early childhood wagon all the way. But I think she'd make the most amazing parent ed.
Tell her to go for the early childhood license first, get that done at some institution, and then we'll take her for parent ed. Yeah, but absolutely. So she can get her BA and her early childhood license at the same time. Yep.
Excellent. Again, thank you so much. Any additional points or questions? And just pointing out in the chat that Maggie nicely has put in the link to the teacher loan repayment. So is it fine for the folks who are here to share that link, Maggie? Okay, great. So excellent. And maybe you can do it, I can do it too, but we could send it out to the listserv because I think that would be something very, very interesting. I've talked to a number of parenting educators and does that also include work for their masters? So somebody who maybe already has their license and then came back and.
I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, I would have to look into that. It just says has outstanding qualified educational loan debt but they teach in a license shortage area. So, and that's an interesting thing because parent and family ed itself is a license there, a shortage area in some areas. But also early childhood as a whole is listed as a license shortage area for all of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So TBD on what that means, but it's worth looking into, and seeing what you can get paid back. And they're going to get more money through this new legislation that's been passed. So
great, excellent. Yeah, because we certainly know there's a number of educators who have been who got their license, who've been teaching for a long time. And then when they come back to get the MED, they essentially have to retake some of the same classes and to get their master's. So yeah, well, good. Anybody else, any questions or comments? Before we-
Question. A little bit off the topic, I did put something in the chat about the language around the compensation and the master teacher contract, but my question was actually way back in the chat. I'm curious to know if anybody's heard any timelines on the development of the Department of Children, Youth and Families, or any details around that, what you're hearing.
How different, Carissa, is your early childhood step and lane? Is it wildly different from the rest of the teachers?
It's
in the
not
district?
crazy different. We're kind of lucky in Mounds View that we're separate, but we are actually fairly similar. But I guess I don't have any specifics off the top. of my head.
My guess is I'm guessing, like, I used to be paid as a community ed employee at like $14 an hour. So, and that has changed, because I am on the step lane. So I think if it's almost identical, my guess is they won't have to do much, but it might be, you might be getting a raise too. I think they're going after the districts like Katie, how you said in Jordan, you're not on it. They're coming for you. They have to figure it out. Ha ha. Sorry, I don't have a lot of patience for the districts who have been. I just don't. I think it's really crummy. So I'm really, really excited for you, Katie, and anybody else who's finally going to get paid what they are worth.
I have to say that the district here in Cambridge ISD has done a lot of work on trying to make it equitable, but it's not the same. And that's what's tricky. And I think where you're saying, Chris, is similar. Ours is a 2-column. You're either your bachelor's or your master's, and it's 10 steps and that's it. So it's there and it's comparable, but you can't do, like right now I'm just starting a master's program because I can't do anything without the master's. I have to do all of that first. So it'd be really nice for those coming behind me to be able to, work on it like they can in the teacher contract. So that's what I'm curious about. I'll have to ask. So Nikki, you're understanding that it probably will be up to districts to decide how. No, they need to go.
No, this is law.
Law.
No, it's not up to the district anymore. All districts are going to be required to put you on the master teacher contract and have equal compensation to their K through 12 staff. That's the law. That will be going into effect. So that's done. There's still, Greta, an issue in terms of to your point, you said things are a little bit different. It's still going to be up to those ECFE, to the districts figuring out what that FTE equivalency is. So you will have the same benefits, but I know like here we've got 5 1.0 parent eds. But I hear from lots of districts that people are like, oh, I am a 0.416. It's like, well, how did they get that? And like, they're looking at minutes or something like this, and they're not adding in the other pieces to the job, such as the home visits or all of the things, because we all know that the work is there. It's just a matter of whether or not the districts are using their funding for what we can be doing, because every district should be receiving the per pupil formula funding, so that the money is coming in for ECFE. The question is where it's going out to. But my question I was going to address too is, the Department of Children, Youth and Families, that's a done deal too. That's law. So that is coming. The question, so our positions will sit under the new department. They'll move, but the question is if anyone has information about that timeline, how long the development of that is going to take, and when that's open, or what that looks like for us to move.
Yeah, like I wrote, when I was talking with Susan, and she was not clear when she was talking about these positions. And I think, sort of listening to you, Nikki, maybe my interpretation now is that her uncertainty was about the timeline. Oh, actually, you know, and I'm saying this on camera, but I almost got the idea, and we can double check with her on this, but it's not going to be soon. It doesn't sound like it's like this is a September kind of thing, right? No, right. That it's, so it's probably that when, or maybe it's these, when these positions will be actually in place. But anyway, regardless, whether it's this new division, which, because it's going to take time, right? I mean, we're talking about melding departments at a state level, right? Which is going to be huge. We're talking policies, procedures, staffing, physical movement of people, hiring, probably encouraging some retirements, you know, consolidation, you know, all of that. So, yeah. Yeah, so again, yeah, so the positions, I think probably hiring and articulating those positions, yes, those will come sooner. And then my guess is they'll sit in MDE, but then get rolled over, which will also, because you figure they're not probably not the only positions that are also new that are going to be hired and then sitting in their respective, yeah, so, yeah. So that contributed absolutely nothing.
Can I add just a little bit to the conversation about the moving on to the master contract? If any of you are not already, when that happened to us, and it's been almost 20 years ago, maybe exactly about 20 years ago, one of the things that our department had to watch very closely was because we used to get pre and post work time for setting up for the class, for prep, for taking down and so forth. That was much more generous than what we ended up with after we were on the master contract, because then they took a full-time teacher's day, and let's say your class is 2 hours. Let's just take that for example, because it simplifies it. Maybe you'll have more than that in a day, but let's say it's 2 hours. So what percentage of that is face-to-face time of what a full-time K-12 teacher had? And then that's how they calculated our prep time, which ended up being very small. Like I have a class where I have 15 minutes before and 15 minutes afterwards, for example. But there were some things we had to watch very closely. They were forgetting to calculate, you know, they put in home visits, you know, all that kind of stuff, but not really any pre and post for that, preparing for a home visit. It was just time for the home visit. So things like that we had to watch and then come back to them and say, hey, I think, you know, because it wasn't intentional. I'm gonna say best intent. It wasn't intentional to shortchange us. It just, they weren't aware, you know, that kind of thing. And special events, we were given a pot of hours, like you have 4.5 hours for the event and for any, you know, so they did things like that. I don't know what any other districts experience. That's just, it was eye-opening for some of us.
It is eye-opening because also in a smaller district, I will do early childhood screening as a part of my thing. So now screening isn't teaching, but I'm a salaried early childhood professional, right? So I'm doing parent ed and screening and pyramid model stuff or whatever. So it's easier when it's not defined as much. So some of that might change for people, your hours, and then how much is what I do then going to TRA, and what is how that you know, there's things that are buckets that you have to be, what you're saying, Nancy, they'll become much more aware of, and which is good. And which is why some people are like, oh, it's okay, don't rush this, you know, but I get, Ellen, the angst of being treated like a professional who needs a license. It's just, we're talking sometimes apples and oranges, and it's tricky. So yeah, Nancy, thanks for bringing that up, because it's true. There's different ways of how you look at our roles and what it takes. And I feel like it's somewhat like that math teacher at the high school who teaches one class 5 or 6 times during a day, compared to the elementary school teacher who every day is teaching every subject in a different way and has to, you know, all that prep work that looks so different. They've done it there. I suppose they'll do it for early childhood and family ed too. So we'll see.
So just going by the chat and where conversation is going about these new positions with the Department of Education, and then TBD on timeline to the formation of this new department. A question had been asked about if there was information about this new department. I had a conversation with Dave Pinto a few weeks back, well, probably a few months back. Anyway, dug up that email, and then the PDF is what there had been earlier in the year about that. Does anybody else have any additional information about this new agency and who all would be under it and things like that?
It's in the labor bill, not labor, it's in the education bill,
Okay.
but it's detailed and long, and I don't remember now. I think I can find it. But what I can say is what I read way back when it was a bill, got passed. So we know it's a thing because the whole bill passed. But I can put a website up to all of the bills that passed, if that's helpful. It's a lot of reading.
Yeah. In general, is it your understanding, Nikki, that, well, okay, let me put it this way. My understanding was that there was going to be some division of agencies so that some of MDE, for instance, would go under this new area, but certainly not all of MDE. Similarly, for like health, some of it would go under this new division, but not all. Is that your understanding?
I think that it is. Our district, I know our early interventionists were concerned about, they had raised a few concerns about it before it was going through. I think it's early childhood. And so I think K through 12 is all still going to be under MDE, but I guess that's to be seen. And then that raises some questions about the birth to third grade alignment and how we continue to do the work in the way that we have been, and what that looks like. So I just think there's a lot of learning that will happen.
Learning, and I appreciate bringing it up though, because as we found potential advocacy, right? So that there aren't assumptions or choices. I mean, that's partly why I wrote to Dave Pinto, was, not to forget about parent ed or however it was going to affect licensing or whatever. Well, let's move and talk about these new positions, which is huge. I had responded when Susan had posted on Facebook about it. In the years that I've been in Minnesota, I've heard about the years before Pawlenty, and then, I've lived here since then, since 2007. And it's sad and not unusual to see incredible programs at individual levels not be well supported at a state level. And so the fact that through the advocacy of everyone, and then specifically this year, and Menafe's involvement as well by hiring, what's her name? Anyway, Amy Koch, as the legislative liaison. And, I do believe that she was as good as she was billed to be in terms of her information and support and everything. Anyway, but to get 2 full-time positions at the state level to support ECFE again is incredibly important. And the Word document that I had shared that Susan gave me outlines a variety of the responsibilities for that position. So yes, she was the past Senate Majority Leader. So the woman knows her stuff, and she knows how, and she's a conservative. I mean, she's a Republican, which I think is incredibly helpful in this case. Anyway, so let's just open it up. A question had been raised about what having these 2 new positions for at MDE, for as long as it's MDE, they're at there, will mean for ECFE. It looks terrific. So any questions? I mean, I'm not in a position to answer any questions about this, but we want to have a discussion about what these positions potentially will mean.
Susan, I wonder if you are interested in this position. Really perfect.
Let me, and to that, I will quote a professional I worked with years ago in Maryland who was working at a regional level, and a state level position came open, and she was a very likely person that, you know, so I said, so Jackie, are you gonna apply for that position? And she just looked at me and she goes, where do you see the word idiot on my forehead? So, so thank you for your voice of support, but no. No, but you know, in my conversation with Susan Shorey, you know, we were just talking about potential people out in the field who would be absolutely incredible leaders. So, including and if any of you, I mean, all of you too, you know, so anyway, but no, thank you, Yuji. Nada.
So what did she share about what the responsibilities will be for these people?
Well, they're mostly in that document, Nancy, in that Word document. So if you scroll way back up in the I put it in there, there it is. So back at 12:10 in our discussion, I put a link to that Word doc. Yeah. But a lot of it just makes sense, right? I mean, it's the kind of thing that you would want somebody at the state level to be doing. Were any of you in position when Betty and Lois were at MDE? You were, Nancy?
Was I doing parent ed when they were there?
Yeah. Were
Yeah.
you working in ECFE?
Wasn't it, I mean, was that before 2003?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, I moved to the state in 2003.
Yeah, so I mean, so if you can imagine any kind of support role, like what would you want somebody at the state level to do, right? To advise, consult, train, you know, oversee especially if you have somebody in a coordinator position who is less familiar with ECFE. You know, because my understanding too is that a number of the school districts, sometimes people put in coordinator positions will be from ECFE or they'll have a parent ed background, but not necessarily, and they may come from ECSE or from another, you know, part of community ed. And so knowing ECFE and advocating, right? Also coordination, you know, and what I was interested in, given our previous conversation, is I would absolutely, if I was in Shannon's position, I would absolutely want to work with that person at MDE to work with the school district. So to be present at those meetings so that any of the questions that somebody from the district might have about, you know, how do we fill out this paperwork? What kind of budget? We haven't done that before, you know, that person at MDE, you know, could assist them. Promotion, go around the country, go around the world, you know, promote ECFE, you know, find those avenues to document the effectiveness of ECFE. I mean, it's all huge stuff and way more. I mean, that's the challenge with 2 support positions, is that they pretty much can do everything. So.
Well, I think these positions, I think one of the skills these people need is leadership. Leadership. So I feel like many of our professionals, we are professional in parent education, but leadership is so important for these 2 positions. We need this person to have this vision and to dare to dream big. And I feel that is very important.
It sounds like Yuji is going to apply for it. I'm so excited. Yay.
Oh, that's so regret. I cannot go back to Minnesota.
It'll probably be all online anyway, friend. I mean, you know.
Oh gosh. ECFE is my dream. I think, I really hope we can duplicate ECFE model to every state. That is my dream. That is really.
Yeah, I totally agree with Susan. I think I think that would have happened if that stuff, I mean, yeah, I've been teaching parent ed since 1998. So like, I really think that's what was supposed to happen. I really think that's what was going to happen because it was so amazing then. I also think, and I know they're not on here anymore, but I also think when we had the license, like, so when I got mine, and you know this, like when I got my license and it was like literally like tailored for ECFE. So I got my early childhood and my parent ed in that 4-year degree. That made such a difference too. I really do think, to how many people we had.
The
you know.
license also, Sarah had it, it was the dual license, that's what I have, and it as the bachelor's, and we spent many classes in infancy and toddlers, and we had much experience with the early childhood piece, not just as a tag on to an elementary degree, an elementary education degree. It was
Yeah,
very focused.
that's what
really-
we were. Yeah. Mhm.
So it's 92, I think. That's my graduation. Yeah. So it's changing. It's changed, it's flowed, and we'll see what happens.
You know, one thing is a lot of so if we think about, say, the core curriculum framework and indicators, right? That's the kind of thing you should not leave to a volunteer organization to develop, right? When you are developing tools that are being used to teach the professional educators in your state, right? And to whatever degree they use them in practice, but if it's that sort of one of those standard tools, and that same kind of tool, once you have those indicators, that's what you use them in your evaluation. You know, I mean, anytime that you leave something that important up to a volunteer organization, even a top flight, you know, organization like Menafee, these are people who are working on top of busy jobs, right? And you know, I mean, what Menafee is able to do is just incredible, and they're volunteers, right? So that's the kind of thing that, in my humble opinion, should be done at a state Department of Education, or whatever the state department is that is providing, you know. The same thing with if you have orientation or onboarding of new employees, even though it'll be tailored by your school district, still, why should that be left up to the coordinator, right? So it's that kind of thing at the central level that you want a certain degree of standardization and oversight, and then also knowing the differences in the state and shoring up those districts and those areas that maybe are more vulnerable or are a little less fragile or can anticipate when there might be a teacher shortage. That's the kind of thing somebody at a central level can do. And so, and I know a lot of the standing pieces that many of you were trained with were developed when Betty and Lois were at MDE. And then they've sort of gone through some, you know, revisions and support, you know, through the years. But honestly, if there's anything substantive that was done related to ECFE's quality and teacher preparation and things like that, speaking for the state of Minnesota, it wasn't done recently. It was done back when there were those positions at MDE. So. What other points about this omnibus bill?
Susan, I do have one more question. Yeah, so do you think this fund is possible to have some budget for research, you know, for studies on ECFE, like long-term effect or something?
Nope.
Is that possible?
That was when I was talking with Susan the other day, she was talking about their negotiations on how much money would be devoted to these positions. And so pretty much, as I understand it, and I think it might be in that budget, but is that the amount is going to cover the salary and benefits of 2 full-time positions, and then about $40,000 a year for whatever else that money is going to be spent with. And certainly that's not enough for an evaluation. So, but no. Yeah, thank you, Nikki. Yeah, it was funded. Yeah, 50,000 for an operating. Yeah.
Since we're getting close to 1 o'clock, do you think we can talk next week about the 50th
Oh, yeah.
celebration stuff?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot that we're gonna.
That's
get-
okay. No,
Yeah.
this was an important discussion.
Absolutely. I know Abby, since I know you're on the phone or on the call, will you be here at the meeting next week as I pin you down?
I plan to